Kuuluuko tästä mitään? Kuuluuko?
Siitä mikistä. Sekä mikki ei
Joo.
kuuluta, että se on vasta.
I think we should kick off the first Share Baltic Sea conference. It is really a first, so it's a historic event. So it's Share Baltic Sea conference, first conference on aging, health, aging, and retirement. It's not the first conference in health, aging, and retirement, but in the Baltic Sea area, it's the first one. My name is Ismo Linnosmaa. I'm going to give you the opening words. So I work as a professor of health and social economics at the University of Eastern Finland. I'm also a visiting researcher at the Institute for Health and Welfare. I'm going to give you some sort of opening words, so some background about this conference. I'll give you a few words about share in Finland, and then I thought that I would give you some tasters, so examples for today's conference. There are going to be a lot of sort of empirical results afterwards, so I'm going to give you some examples. It's not a comprehensive analysis, but something. I'm going to compare Finland with the other share countries. So first, a few words about this conference. So idea for this conference was born in the Share Bratislava meeting about 1 year ago among Baltic and Nordic share representatives. And we came together several times in the meeting and we were discussing that, okay, we should do something together. We should organize a conference or meeting. And that was sort of the outcome of the Bratislava meeting. Then after the meeting, we met, we had a series of Teams meetings starting in November 2023 and until the January this year. And in these meetings, we finalized the idea of this Baltic Sea conference. And the purpose of this conference is twofold: to present and discuss share and its usability in designing health, retirement, and social policies for policymakers and funders. So here the sort of target audience is really the policymakers and funders. And the idea is, of course, that we would present share and its potential in designing sort of evidence-based policies. And the other part of the conference is to present and discuss ongoing research using share data. So I already thank all the researchers for submitting so many papers. As I said yesterday in the dinner, I was a little bit surprised that we had so many papers. I'm very delighted about that. So let's hope that we can continue with this also in the coming years. So the idea is that the next Share Baltic Sea conference will take place in some other Baltic or Nordic country, maybe next year or 2 years from now, and we will let you know about the timing of that event. Okay, couple of words about share for those of you who don't know so much about share. I believe that we are going to hear much more about share in the coming talks. But the survey of health, aging and retirement in Europe is a pan-European research infrastructure providing high-quality, longitudinal microdata for studying the effects of health, social, economic and environmental policies over the life course of European citizens and beyond. Couple of landmarks related to share that needs to be mentioned. It was chosen as one of the projects in the European Strategy Forum on Research Infrastructures, ESFRI, in 2006. It became the first European research infrastructure consortium in 2011, and it became an ESFRI landmark in 2016. And currently there are 28 countries participating in the share data collection. And the first wave of share data was collected in 2004, and currently 10th wave of share data collection is underway. And what is important from the user's perspective is that for researchers, access to share data is free. There's a registration, but after that, researchers can use data without any charge. Okay, and the last sentence also tries to explain these abbreviations that we have in there. So each country has a country team leader and country team operator, CTL and CTO. Okay, and about Finland in share. Finland has been part of the share data collection since wave 7. That was in 2016 and 17 when the Finland joined share data collection. Population Research Institute of the Family Federation of Finland, actually the place where we are at the moment, has been and it is still responsible for organizing and managing share data collection in Finland. There's a large steering group containing members from Finnish ministries, research institutes and universities that is advising share activities in Finland. But in order to enhance and strengthen the share data collection in Finland, a consortium consisting of members from University of Eastern Finland Population Research Institute, Tampere University and University of Turku was formed in 2023. That was about 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago. And this Share Finland consortium will sort of assume responsibility for organizing and managing data collection from wave 11 onwards in Finland. Okay, that's briefly about share and about share in Finland. And finally, I'll come to these tasters. So since we are here in Finland, I thought that, okay, I could compare Finland with other share countries using the share data. It's not a comprehensive analysis. It gives you some examples here, or tasters, to put it in the other way. And maybe it gives an idea how share data could be used in a comparative sort of policy analysis. So I used share data from wave 8 on self-assessed health, on number of chronic diseases and life satisfaction to compare Finland with other share countries. And I have risk adjusted these outcomes by age and sex for the comparative analysis. Okay, first one, risk-adjusted probability of good health. What does good health mean here? It means, there's this question about self-assessed health in a share questionnaire, and respondents are responding on the 5-point scale. So I picked all the responses. If the respondents were saying excellent, good, or very good, I gave it a number 1, so that means that it refers to good health, and satisfactory health and poor health are not obtained the value 0. Okay, and then I computed the risk-adjusted probability of good health. So as you can see from the bars and also from figures, don't be sort of confused by the large difference that you see between the bars. Look at the numbers instead. That's why the numbers are there. Finnish people experience good health less likely than people in other share countries. And if we talk about statistical significance, the difference between when we are comparing Finland with other share countries, that is statistically significant, but it's very small. Finland is almost on the average of the other, average value of the other share countries. Multimorbidity. Multimorbidity refers to the number of chronic diseases in the share questionnaire. I risk adjusted that outcome, and as you can see from these bars and numbers also, Finnish people have more chronic diseases than people from other share countries, and the difference between Finland and other share countries is statistically significant, and now the difference is much larger. Okay, thank you. I'm coming to an end. Yes. And then finally, I needed to find something positive about Finland. So I picked an outcome that I knew that we are doing quite well, life satisfaction or happiness measure. So life satisfaction, there's a question on a scale from 0 to 10, how satisfied are you with your life? And here are the results. So you can, if you look at the bars and the numbers, Finnish people have higher life satisfaction than people from other share countries. And now the difference between Finland and share is also statistically significant. Okay, these are the tasters now. So I hope they gave you some sort of idea how the share data could be used in a comparative policy analysis. I hope they didn't give you too gloomy picture about Finland. Finland, and yes, that's about the tasters. So I wish you a good conference, pleasant and good conference for today, and thank you. These were the opening words. I'm going to change a hat because I'm going to be chairing. So chairing. Okay, so it's my great pleasure to introduce next speaker, keynote speaker, David Richter. David is director of Share Institute in Berlin and also a professor of survey research at Freie University in Berlin. Okay, please, David. I think you can find him.
Yeah. Okay. No. Where is it?
It's the same presentation.
Ah, it's the same presentation. Oh, very good. So, oh, I don't know those words. It's, I know what it should be, but.
Okay.
Yeah, this is you.
Carry on.
I could have tried that. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you for the introduction, and yeah, and thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. And yesterday we already talked about it. I have been to Finland before. I was at a meeting in Turku. It was a conference meeting related to a Horizon grant, and I was in Turku, and then I stayed one day longer in Helsinki and looked a little bit around, and I have been in the city. And ever since then, I wanted to return because I really liked it here, and I really wanted to come back. And I also wanted to bring the family, and it never happened because it was just not, yeah, we didn't find the time. And so as I got the invitation to come here, I accepted very happily. And I also thought, okay, I should bring the whole family. But my wife is already working again, so the summer breaks are over. And so I at least brought my oldest daughter with me. She's sitting over there. And because usually, so they think that I'm just sitting in front of the computer and talking with people, and so and then I'm traveling around doing whatever, and so they never knew what I do, and so I thought this would be a good opportunity for her also to see what I'm doing, and so yeah, I'm very happy for the invitation. Now, regarding the topic of the talk, so the team asked me to present on the policy impact of share-based research. And this is really an area where I really don't know much, but I said I'm happy to do that. And because we have a scientific dissemination team now at the Share Berlin Institute, and so Melanie Wagner and Jasmin Yilmaz helped me a lot with preparing the presentation. And so I can give you some information how share was used how share research was used to impact policy. But I really need the notes for this because usually I don't use the notes in the presentation, but for this talk I will need them. Yeah, so thanks again for the invitation, and let's go. Let's start with the talk. So as most of you probably know, share is interesting for policymakers because share has representative and harmonized data from 27 European countries and Israel. And right now, after Wave 9, we have data from 160,000 respondents. And so this summarizes to more than 600,000 interviews. So that's quite a lot. And and in addition to that, share is multidisciplinary. So we have information from many different topics. And so share can be informative and provide information that can be used to change, improve, and tailor public policies. And public entities can use share data to inform themselves about the facts. So there can be really based policy, fact-based policy advice, and also politicians can see how their policies impact people and so on. And really, to look at the impacts of reforms, it's important to have longitudinal data in a probability-based sample, and then the comparison between the countries is really the strength of share. And you will also see from the examples that I present that this is really used a lot. And so before I came to share, I worked for 11 years for the socioeconomic panel study in Germany. And with the socioeconomic panel study, there are about 15,000 publications, so a lot of papers published, also compared to share, because with share, right now it's about 4,000 papers. But the policy impact of share is much stronger, much higher than the policy impact of the socioeconomic panel in Germany, because it's after all just one study in Germany. It was used for a lot of policy evaluations, but as you will see from the examples, share has really a much larger impact also on the European and worldwide level. And this is really one strength of share that I'm not really was aware as I applied for the job, but I think we should continue with that. It's the one big, or it's one of the very big selling points of share. And so, as I said, we have many different topics. We have different topics available, and but they focus on 3 areas. So we have a lot of information on the economic situation. There's information on labor force participation, a lot of information on income, gross income, net income, wealth, in the various dimensions of wealth that people have, assets that they own, what they consume, consumption, and also pension benefits. And that's also quite important and very good that Chair covered this in very detail, and also in an excellent way, taking into account the differences between the 28 countries. And also information on the housing situation. And then we have information on the health situations of the participants, physical health, mental health, also since the very early waves, already depression measures, cognition, and this increased actually in the last waves of the age cap protocol, a very detailed measure on cognition and dementia in some countries that we will also have in more countries in the next years. Variety, and then also activities of daily living, so what people actually can do, self-reported in their lives, as something like a subjective measure of the health status, really measuring what people can do in their daily lives on their own. Health behaviors and also health insurance coverage, that's also important, of course. And then we have measures on social integration. There's social activities, if they are doing any volunteering, family and social networks. And we talked about it yesterday shortly, that basically there's some research showing that the cognitive decline follows decline of social activities and not the other way around. And so social activities are really important. Humans are social beings, and so it's very important to cover this as well, as it is done in share already, and maybe we can have more on that in the future. And then also informal help and care, and I think this will be also much more important in the future. So, yeah, you might know that the EU said that long-term care and informal care are central topics for future policy, and so share is, we are aware of that, and we will also increase our efforts in that areas. And so, how is policy advice done with share, and how is it achieved? And it's achieved by different means. So it can be that there are policy-related studies or reports, such as the EU's pension adequacy report or the OECD's Health at a Glance report. I will tell you more about those later. And so there are really reports based on share with the help of share people that are published. Then there are also scientific publications from policy actors, such as working papers from national banks or reports from the scientific services of national parliaments that use share data and publish results based on share data. And then there are also consulting activities with share data of consulting agencies or NGOs, or also consulting activities by share staff, where share people are working in working groups or commissions on specific aging-related topics or share-related topics, like the pension commissions, for example, where some share people have been involved since many years. And then there are lectures and panel discussions by share staff in the policy context, such as expert panels of the European Commissions or national parliaments, governmental agencies, and also this. We spoke about the Population Europe initiative yesterday, where also usually or regularly share people are invited for panel discussions, so they can also provide their insight based on share data to the public. And so these are the various means that we thought worth mentioning where share is influencing public policy and public policy discussions. And then there are different levels where share data has been used in the past and probably also will be used in the future. So we have the global level at the OECD or the WHO or the World Bank, where share data was used to inform politicians and experts in the areas. Then we have the European level with the European Commission and European initiatives that are using share-based research or share data. And then we also have the national level and the way national ministries, the national government, the parliament is using share to inform their decisions. And this really depends. So for the national level, it really depends also a bit on the share country teams, how well they are connected and using the data. So there are really some countries that are very well connected with their ministries and actually also include questions from their ministries in their national drop-off questionnaires. And then other countries, that's basically just they're not really aware that share exists. So this is something where we can also invest some resources to help country teams to exchange their best practices with other country teams and increase their connectedness with their national ministries. And now I'm coming to some examples where share data was used in the past and probably also will be used in the future. So the European Commission's expert group on health systems performance assessment published a report titled Mapping Metrics. What does this work now? Oh yeah, it's here. Mapping metrics of health promotion and disease prevention for health systems performance assessment. And in it, the HSPA developed a new framework for assessing health systems performance. And they relied on share data for measuring health outcomes, such as indicators like the socioeconomic impacts of health and health systems, so the employment rates, also sick days by certain diseases, and early retirement and unemployment rates. But also share representatives were actively contributing as consultants during the developments of the new framework. So the new framework to assess those variables was developed together with share people. And the renewed framework will facilitate international collaboration by providing a common language, definitions, and shared understandings among policymakers, stakeholders, and organizations. And so this provides a foundation for the development of future indicators, data collection and policy analysis, and knowledge integration. So this is really a big step, I think, for future policy advice here. And this expert group included also people from Norway, from the OECD, the WHO, and the European Observatory on Health Systems and Policies as observers. So this was really a large effort. And I think the presentation will be shared, right, with all of you at the end. So where's Johanna sitting? No, she's not here. Okay. Yeah, I think it will be shared. So then you can look it up. And we can also provide you the working papers, but I think you can download them also on the internet. Then in the report, Socioeconomic Consequences of COVID-19, the Policy Department for Economic, Scientific and Quality of Life Policies analyzed the consequences of measures aimed at countering the effects of COVID-19. Specifically, it examines the consequences of the measures on industry, small and medium enterprises, the cultural and creative industries, as well as the consequences for workers and working practices. And here, this report relies on share COVID data to determine the percentage of active workers who retired after the outbreak of the pandemic or stopped working earlier than planned directly because of the pandemic. And as you know, share was one of the few survey or one of some surveys that really managed very well to change data collection to an offline to an change data collection from in-person to telephone mode to collect data also during the pandemic. And so there are now 2 waves of share COVID data available. And then we also have wave 9, the first face-to-face interviews after COVID. And so you can really do pre-post analysis with wave 8 and wave 9, and you have the 2 COVID waves in between to really see how the pandemic impacted the lives of people. And I think Share can be very proud on doing this transition so fast and having the data now available. Because as you maybe know, ESS was not able to do it. So the European Social Survey, they just stopped data collection and they didn't manage to adapt, and Share did. And so this is really something very good, and the data is now widely used. But there are still a lot of work that can be done with COVID. And so if you are still interested, I have to say, then you should do it fast, because the journal acceptance rate of COVID papers is really dropping like a stone. And so if you have something that you want to publish with the data, I think you should do it fast. There have been, in the early days of COVID, there have been very bad papers published in very high-ranked journals. And now the quality of the papers is increasing, but the number of publications is really already going down. So, but as I said, Share managed to adapt, and so we have this data available now, and I think that will be a great resource also for the future. And then we have the European Commission's Joint Research Center, and this is really, so this GRC, this Joint Research Center, this is really interesting also for the future. They are using Share a lot. And also there will be some future Horizon calls where people are also invited to collaborate with the GRC on certain topics. So I think the EU is really trying to strengthen this Joint Research Center in the future. And so it's very good that those people are really already aware that Share exists. And we also received a draft for a Commission note for future Horizon grants, where they also wanted to strengthen the use of already existing infrastructures in those future Horizon calls. So if everything works out nicely, then in the future there will also it will be saying in those calls that you should use existing data if necessary, if possible, to prevent people from collecting the same data on a lower scale all over and over again, instead of using just the large infrastructures that exist. And this would be very good for us and for Share, because if you want other people to use the infrastructure or other people to use the infrastructure, you should really invest in the infrastructure to strengthen it and make more data available. So very good, I think, outlook in this direction, but also based, of course, on what is done already with Share data. And in this report, the Joint Research Center was tasked with providing the Joint Research Center is tasked to provide independent evidence-based science and knowledge to the European Commission. So this is really their scientific hub to inform them and their policies. And they published a demographic microsimulation of long-term care needs in the European Union. And here the study presents a prototype microsimulation of a demographic model that projects the risk of developing long-term care needs for the over 50 population in various European countries from 2011 to 2070. And it uses Share data in combination with a dynamic demographic microsimulation model to project future demographic developments. And so this is really very good for Share that they used our data for that. And they say in the report, Share has been selected as, compared to other surveys, it follows people who are transferred into residential care, thus limiting the underestimation of people with long-term care needs. In addition, Share contains information on people's life histories, allowing to include the model historical information on chronic diseases of the surveyed population, for example, at age with the chronic disease was first diagnosed. So they really utilized the information on the health history of the respondents that is asked in share, and also the fact that share is following people into nursing homes. And this is something that actually share is not really happy right now about, because we know, or we are trying to do it, and we are somehow successful, but we are also talking about increasing the success rate to really be able to follow people into nursing homes, because right now it's happening, but there are still gatekeepers, and so share is losing a lot of people when they move into a retirement home or nursing home. And there are plans to increase this, but if you look at the what people are doing with the data, apparently we are doing better than many other surveys. And for example, the socioeconomic panel study in Germany, they just stopped. When people moved into a retirement home, they stopped to follow them. And this was always justified with, yeah, it's a household panel survey, so we ask people that are living in private households, and a nursing home is not a private household. And so they are not part of the sampling frame, and we are very happy to let them go. And so, of course, you lose a very important part. If you are interested in doing aging research, then people in retirement homes are, of course, important. And so share is following them as one of the very few surveys. And we are actually working right now on ways to increase this trend, the rate where this transition is done, to survey even more in the future. So there are plans to increase this rate even more. Okay, yep. Then next slide. Okay, then we have another paper on non-communicable diseases. This is also a very important topic for the future. These are basically diseases that you just get because, it's not someone infecting you. You just get them based on your lifestyle decisions and also genetics. And I think this is also one reason why we should really try to get also the genomics of the share respondents collected at some point. It's not that expensive anymore than it was. For instance, if you take saliva samples, you end up with about 50 euros per sample as a price for data collection and analysis. So that's not really expensive. But if you do it with 80,000 share respondents, then it's still about 8 million that you need. And so we already tried to get this money, and we will try again. So at some point, I think someone will finance this kind of data collection, and then we will also hopefully have genetic information available for the share respondents. Not next year and also not in 2 years, but hopefully maybe in 5 to 10. We will see. And so, but right now you can already study non-communicable diseases with the data available. And here, the most important is that around 2/3 of all deaths in the European region are currently result from non-communicable diseases. So this is, for instance, diabetes or cardiovascular diseases or chronic respiratory conditions. And we already know that significant inequalities in life expectancy and mortality rates exist between different European countries and also within socioeconomic groups in different countries. And so there are obviously effects of the environment on the probability to get those diseases. And this is something that can be studied with share data because we have this information. We have the differences between countries, and we have information on the lifestyle of the respondents. And so in order to combat non-communicable diseases, the EU has launched an initiative to support member states in developing and implementing effective policies focused on health promotion and disease prevention. And this is really something where the EU wants to invest more money in the future. And we are actually also have a working group how share can be improved to collect more data in this regard. And the European Commission refers to prevention as one of the most underinvested areas in public health EU-wide so far. So this sounds like they are really interested in investing more money in this in the future. And I think it's also important to study that and to do that. And in the guidance document, they mention that share forms part of the European Information Network and the study of health policies. And so they are really aware that share exists and that it's part of this information network. And if we increase our available data in this area, then I think they will also continue to use it to inform policy. And so the survey's results already contribute to the scientific background for the European initiative against NCDs, and probably will do so in the future as well. Then another topic that gained a lot of publicity during the COVID pandemic was loneliness. And now loneliness, or already since many years, loneliness is widely recognized as a public health issue because it's often affecting elderly. And the way one experiences loneliness, this has been argued by researchers, is dependent on a variety of environmental factors. And so here also cultural norms come into play. So it could be that the same amount of social contact is creating loneliness in countries like Italy, where it's completely normal, in countries like Germany, where people have fewer social contacts. And I learned yesterday that Finnish people have a lot of contacts actually as well. So maybe of course this has an influence on the amount of loneliness that people experience. Some people argue that it's basically just a trait. So it doesn't really depend on your experiences. It's somehow more like a genetic variable. So some people will always feel lonely independent of the number of contacts that they have. So this is something that can be studied. And SHARE is collecting loneliness also since many waves, even before. Oh no, it was included with COVID, but depression was already there before that. So this is something that really took up with the pandemic, and now people already speak, or some people actually spoke about the loneliness pandemic in Europe that followed the COVID pandemic, and so this is something where future research and also policy advice can happen. And in this report, the European Science and Knowledge Service, again, the Joint Research Center, focuses on the self-perceived loneliness of second-generation immigrants aged 50 plus and its impact on mental and physical health. And here they use the information on current and retrospective information on respondents' health and demographic background. And so this was the main data source for this study. And they used share waves from 5 to 8 and linked this reports to the maternal background of the respondents. So they looked where the mothers of the respondents were born, and then they looked how lonely they were feeling as they aged. And they also found that loneliness influenced the general health status of the respondents. So this was connected. As I said in the beginning, humans are social beings, and if they are feeling lonely, this could also affect at least their subjective health and maybe even the objective health status. Then there was another report, this time by DG Employment, the Directorate General for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, on the incidence and costs of informal long-term care in the European Union, and the outcomes of this study on exploring incidence and costs of informal long-term care in the EU have already been published in June 2021. And here the study aimed to develop a common understanding of informal care, to estimate the number of people providing long-term care, and to analyze their characteristics. And so this is really, we talked about informal long-term care earlier today already. So this is also a topic that it's very interesting for the DG Employment Directorate at the EU. And as you maybe know, DG Employment is providing data to SHARE to finance data collection in countries without own funding since many years. And hopefully they will do that in the future, and also maybe even more reliable than in the past. So maybe with a more a longer time span in the projects, so that we get those funding projects not only for 18 months, but maybe for 3 years, to really provide reliable funding to countries without own financing. Because for those reports, DG Employment is really interested in having the whole EU covered and having all countries that are being part of SHARE. And here, so as I said, they try to come to a common understanding of informal care, And they also estimated the costs associated with the provision of informal long-term care for individuals and states. So this is also an important topic for the future, because we know something about long-term care in a formalized way, but informal care is really a blind spot for many studies. SHARE has some information on it, and maybe we'll have some more data in the future. Then another report by DG Employment, the Pension Adequacy Report, very new from 2024. Here, this report, the cover, the picture shows the old report. The new report is not available yet. It's the 5th edition of the report, and this is done every 3 years by the Social Protection Committee and the European Commission. And SHARE has already served as databases in previous years and has been used again in the newest edit. And the report presents a comparative analysis of the degree of to which pension systems in the EU member states enable older adults to retire with adequate income. At the same time, it reflects on pension reforms and current or future challenges in our societies. And in doing so, it contributes to the policy debate on the purpose and direction of pension reforms. And this is also was already in the past an important area where share data was used to collect information on pensions of the respondents, and also to see how their pension savings and their pension is changing after policy reforms. And then we have the report that I already mentioned from the OECD, Time for Better Care at the End of Life. And here this report's built on the COVID pandemic, because the COVID pandemic has shown that there's lack of proper support for people at the end of life. And some people don't have access to end-of-life care, and so it was seen as it's very important to access, to provide access for those affected by this. And in this report, the DG Employment analyzes the current status of end-of-life care in the face of more chronic conditions and an aging population, and provides policy recommendations to improve care for the dying. And this report also relies on SHARE data to determine how many people who need palliative or end-of-life care actually receive it, as well as socioeconomic inequalities among those who receive it. And this was based on studies that were done with COVID data, where it was also shown by SHARE research that there are large discrepancies between people that received care during the COVID pandemic, and this was not always related to the degree they actually needed care. So it was really some socioeconomic inequalities were related to the care that was received during the pandemic. And so this report builds up on that and studied in a more general way for the end-of-life care, and again using SHARE data to do that. And then we have another report, this time done jointly by the OECD and the European Commission. And here, this joint effort was aiming to better understand and improve social protection for older people with long-term care needs. And the OECD and the European Commission came together on several occasions for a mutual learning workshop, and the exchange resulted in a policy brief on adequate social protection in long-term care. And in it, the experts of OECD and European Commission analyzed the public benefits or services for people with long-term care needs. And the report uses SHARE data to calculate long-term care needs, home care, out-of-pocket costs of care, and also to define people at risk of poverty. So actually, again, building up on SHARE to inform policy aiming at the improvement of long-term care. And as I said now many times, this is really a topic for the future, and you can also see it on the reports that are already done. I think this will stay, and we should invest some resources to improve the data that SHARE can provide in this regard. And then we have the Health at a Glance report of the OECD, and this report presents and compares key indicators for population health, healthcare resources and activities, health expenditure and financing across EU member states. And for the first time, the report also includes key indicators for Ukraine and Moldova. And the 2022 edition of the report focuses on resilience and crisis preparedness of health systems through targeted investments, their digital transformation, as well as the prevention of cancer and other non-communicable diseases. And here we see again that also the OECD is interested in preventing those NCDs, and this is really also a topic for the future, I think. And so this is why we also need to get genetic information available, because they are very strong contributing to NCDs and the probability to get them. The report also sheds light on the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in this context, it refers to share data to highlight that people with chronic conditions have been particularly impacted by the disruption of services during the pandemic. And this is also something we learned during with the share data, that if you already were impacted by health issues, then COVID was really bad. The COVID pandemic was really bad, because this really impacted your care. So then, yeah, and that's about it with the examples. And so now I have some questions for you that we can maybe also discuss and exchange ideas about. So as you saw, share is already used by the European Commissions, the OECD, and other important stakeholders. And so, of course, we can still do more. And so the question would be, what about you? How do you try to reach policymakers? And we spoke about this yesterday with Anna, for example. She was in the ministry yesterday and informed, I think that was the finance minister, right, about recent developments. And so this is something that's happening also in the different share countries. But of course, maybe there are some best practices that can be exchanged also as part of this meeting, this workshop. And then the question is, what are obstacles? Are there any gatekeepers that prevent this? And what can be done to circumvent them? And what would basically the country teams, the people in the share countries need to do this much better, or to improve their efforts? And then my question is, what can we do as Share Central in Berlin to help you with that? What can we do to provide you with support to have more impact on local politics? And that's it from me. Thank you. So,
Then we can have questions from the audience. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
They are very good questions, actually,
Yeah.
here already. So, if you have any questions, please use this microphone. It's not making your voice any sort of louder, but it helps to stream. It goes to the stream.
Yeah.
So we can start having, yes.
Hello, David. I want to ask a question about Share Escape, because I know in the beginning of this year, there's a new release of Escape in Share, but there are only 5 countries, and in another country, only Denmark. So I am wondering whether there will be more countries join the Escape, because I think it's very important to make the international comparable analysis. And the sample size is also not so large. I guess the total sample only 2,300 individuals. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you. Because, as I mentioned, we did some improvements in the collection of cognitive information from the respondents, and the Harmonized Cognitive Assessment Protocol, HCAP. This is one really, it's a harmonized protocol that is used in also in Share Sister studies, in the HRS, in India, and around the world, basically. And here, the aim is to provide some information, some measures for the early diagnosis of dementia, to also inform policy how dementia prevention can be improved. And as you said, it was done in 5 countries only so far: Germany, Denmark, France, Italy, and Czech Republic. And we are currently working on the proposal to do it again after the Wave 11. And here we are in talks with the NRA how many new countries we should include. So one idea, or one thing that we definitely will do, we will increase the sample size a lot. So we will have, instead of 500 people per country, it will be at least 750 or more likely 1,000 or even 1,500 respondents per country. And then we want to have new countries. And here the question is, how many new countries can we do? And this really depends what the NIA wants. So we can have up to 23 new countries because, or 2022, because right now SHARE is covering 27 countries. But I think they will not pay for that. And so it will be something between 5 and 10 new countries, I think. So this is currently under debate. How many new countries we can include, it's all related to costs, of course, but they are very interested in financing this endeavor in SHARE. So they really want to support a second round of data collection with the HCAP protocol in SHARE, and they're also very interested in increasing the number of countries. And we provided them a set of new countries that would make sense from our perspective. And so this is really based on the geography in Europe, so the differences between Nordic and southern countries, and also Eastern and Western and Central Europe, and also related to the differences in national history. So, for instance, the Baltic states have a very different history compared to Spain. And so this, and all of this could, of course, influence cognitive development and also the probability to develop dementia. And so there will be a new data collection after wave 11, so maybe 2026, 2027, and there will be an increase in sample size, and there will be new countries. And the number is not quite clear yet. But Finland is one of the candidates, and Sweden as well. Because we were looking at various variables, and so size of the population is one criteria, and then also size of the SHARE sample is another criteria, because if we don't have enough older adults in the survey already, then it's hard to draw a sample to do the HCAP protocol. But I think the final goal is to really do the protocol in all SHARE countries. Maybe with a base, with a core HCAP that is currently developed by the NIA network, by the HCAP network, I have to say. So the HCAP network is currently trying to already reduce the effort that is not, and really concentrate on core questions for the protocol. And this could be a way to, at some point, really do it in all SHARE countries. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
More questions? Comments or answer to these questions? I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Yeah.
Could you mention your name?
I'm Lola Sakkos from Estonia, and I wanted to tackle the last question you have put there.
Yeah.
How can SHARE Central help you? And when I saw these reports, what have been done on the European level, then I understood one thing, that often country team leaders are not involved in these.
Yeah.
And that is one way you can help these country teams, because if they are involved in these policy debates or working groups or report making, then they can also much easier bring these issues to their government.
Yeah.
And that is what has been lacking so far from SHARE Central, that it has been only done by the central team. Some experts, of course, have been involved, but not overall. And that is the way how actually SHARE Central can help in the future.
Yeah, I fully agree. And we are maybe you already realized that we are already doing steps in this direction, and I think you will see more of that. So this also relates to basically the baseline papers that are published on SHARE. And if you compare, for instance, the basic citations for share, this is usually share central people, and then the 28 countries and with the 100 people more or less that are working for share in the countries, they are not even mentioned. And this is really, for me, this was really strange as I started at share. And this is also not what you see at the other sister studies. So for instance, the basic paper for the LASI, for the Indian share sister study, has 41 authors. And so I think we will end up with much more co-authors for the future share populations, for the future share publications, to really also acknowledge all the work the country teams are doing. So this is really something that will change in the future. And of course, we will try to include country teams in the grant preparations and also in those policy efforts more. But I learned yesterday that we're already sending out too many emails. So we need to find a way how to do this without increasing the number of emails that we send. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah, we will find a way. So I think this is a minor issue. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I don't think we still have time. Questions?
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, please.
I'm Xu Zong, a PhD from University of Helsinki, and actually I have a question about Finland race data and the share data, how to link them, because I used to send an email about the question, and I want to know, like in our project, in our group, people like use the race data. Now I want to link the share data with the race data. Do I need to apply the race data again, or I can just link the current race data in our group?
How to link? That's,
Yeah.
we have some experience about this. So I think we have one project in Finland.
Yeah.
Okay, that is currently linking. Would you like to say something, Leena and Inna, about your experiences of linking? The question was how to link, right? Or do you need?
Actually, the question is like now we have I have some colleagues that use the race data. Now I want to link their race data with our share data.
Yeah.
So do I need to apply the race data again for linking the share data, or I can just directly use the race data now?
I think you need to have a new application for linkage. That would be my sort of fast thinking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, Johanna knows.
So, anybody interested in linking share data with the registers can send me email at johanna.lahtela@vaastoliitto.fi, so I can help you with the procedure.
Yeah, and regarding record linkage, this is also some area that we want to pursue in the future much more. So there are already some share countries that are linking their data to local registers. And I think this is really increasing the value a lot. And so we are supporting country teams in doing this in their countries. And we also talked yesterday about maybe finding future ways to provide also a harmonized data set of those linked register informations. But this is, of course, a huge endeavor because the data protection issues are serious. And so this will take some time. But this really would, I think, provide a lot of value to the users. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we thank David. We are, I think, we need to move forward.
Yeah.
And so we thank David. Okay, I'm always good. And the next speaker will be Kristel Auero, researcher from Population Research Institute, and the title is 50 plus in Finland, results from the wave number 1 country report. Please.
Thank you. So wave 9 country reports, so our most recent data published this spring. So my name is Krista Aura. I'm working here at Väestöliitto Population Research Institute as a researcher. And in the making of this country report, there has also been our research coordinator, Johanna Lahtela. And here in this report, which we just published yesterday, we have some descriptive results from the Finnish data. And just some background information of the report. So the main purpose in this report is to provide decision makers with some key indicators on the well-being and living conditions of aging Finns. And of course, it's for everyone who is interested in the well-being of aging Finns, so not only decision makers. And the report is composed of 3 main sections, which are health and functional capacity. The second one is employment, pensions, and financial situation. And the third one is social relations and participation. And in the data of this report, we have 1,752 interviews, and our oldest respondent was 99 years old. So let's have a look at the main results from the report, and we'll first go into the first section, which is health and functional capacity. So here we have self-perceived health of Finns, and we have 3 age groups, men and women. And what we see here is that women under the age of 75 seem to have slightly better self-perceived health than men. And the differences then do even out in the oldest age group, 75 plus. So there we don't see much of a difference between men and women. What we see there is that the group who feel that their health is at least good is already in the minority. So we have nearly 60% of those who feel that their health is fair or poor. Then we see some socioeconomic inequalities in the perceived health. Here what we see is poor perceived health. So those who answer that they feel that their health is either fair or poor in the interview. And here we have 3 education groups in 3 age groups. And we see that in every single age group, the proportion of people who feel that their health is poor is largest in the primary education group. And the biggest differences we see here in the under 65 category. And there are several reasons, I'm sure, for this. One may be that's in the primary education group. Probably there is much more very hard physical work, labor, which may be one factor affecting this big difference in that age group. Then we have some international comparison. We have chosen 15 countries, so we have all the Baltic Sea countries and then some other Western European countries in these comparisons in this report. And here we see that Finland is quite in the middle of this 15-country comparison, but what we do see is that we have our neighboring Sweden and Denmark doing a lot better than us here in Finland, unfortunately. So then we looked at the proportion of people who report having a health problem that limits paid work. So the question was, in the interview that, do you have any health problem or disability that limits the kind of or amount of paid work you can do? And here we see that more than a quarter of Finns under 75 did report having some kind of a limiting health problem. And the percentage in Finland was higher among women than among men. So 1 in 3 working age women and 1 in 5 working age men reported having a limiting health problem. Then we have the shortened memory test. So this was a test where the interviewer would read out a list of 10 words, and the respondent was immediately asked to repeat all the words that they could remember off this list. And in Finland, the average score was 5.7 words. We see that in some of the German-speaking countries, there were higher results. It would be interesting to know if this has something to do with the language itself. But here, Finland is halfway, no massive differences to the first few countries in this comparison. Then if we look at this is just Finnish people in 3 education groups. Here we see similar differences than what we saw previously. So here we have men and women in the 3 age groups and the 3 educational groups. And what we see is that, again, both with women and with men, the scores in the memory test were highest among those who have tertiary education and the lowest with those who have primary education. And the biggest differences were here in the under 65 aged men, where there was nearly a 2-word difference between the lowest and highest education group. Then we looked at computer skills. So this was self-rated. The question was, how would you rate your computer skills? And here we see that mostly here in the underage 65 group, computer skills are mainly very good, pretty good. And what was surprising to me, at least, was that here in the age 75 plus in women, more than a quarter of the respondents said that they have never used a computer, and that is including smartphones, tablets. So that is quite a high proportion. In men, it was a bit smaller, but still we see that generally in the 75 plus group, the computer skills are not nearly as good as in the younger age groups. Then we had a look at the satisfaction with the coverage of the national health system. And unfortunately, Finland is not doing very well in this indicator. So what we see is that while we do have 80% who are at least somewhat satisfied with the coverage of the national health system, there is 1/5 who are somewhat or very dissatisfied, and that proportion is the 3rd largest in all of these countries that we compared here. And again, we see that our neighboring Sweden and Denmark are doing a lot better on this measure as well. But then, good news for Finland, as Ismo said in his presentation, we rank very well in life satisfaction. And I think the numbers were quite similar in wave 8 as here that we see in wave 9. So our average life satisfaction on a score from 0 to 10 was 8.4. So we are doing very nicely there. We only have Denmark, who surpassed us with an excellent score of 5.6. Then moving on to the next section of the report, so that is employment, pensions, and financial situation. So what we saw was that 13% of all pensioners had done paid work within the last month of the interview. And the proportion was higher with men in all of the age groups than among women. And here, under the age of 65, we see that 1/3 of pensioners in men did do some paid work within the last month, and in women it was 1/4 approximately. And 75 plus group, we have quite small percentages here, so 4 and 5. Then this is from our national drop-off questionnaire. So we looked into how satisfied people were with the age that they retired and whether they would have liked to retire earlier, which we have here on the left in yellows and oranges, or whether they would have liked to retire later, which are here in the darker blue colors on the right. And here what we see is that the most satisfied with their retirement age were those who retired at ages 64 or 65. So 3/4 of that group they considered that they retired at the right age. And the most dissatisfied were those who had to retire before the age of 55. So there we see the vast majority would have definitely liked to work a lot longer than they were able to. Then if we look at the 66 plus retirement age group, there we see that the satisfaction proportion is already quite a lot smaller than in the 64-65 group. And we see that approximately 1/3 of the respondents who had retired at 66 or later would have liked to retire earlier. But also we see that over 1 in 5 of that group could have continued working still after the age they retired. And so in the interview, it was asked whether the respondent would like to retire as early as possible from their current job. And here we see that just over 1/2 of Finns replied that yes, they would like to retire as early as possible from their current job. And in a European context, this is quite high. In the comparison of these 15 countries, we only have 4 countries with higher percentages. And we were thinking that one reason for this quite high percentage here in Finland could be health. So 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men reported that they are afraid that their health might limit their ability to work before regular retirement. Then we looked at financial situations, and here we see that 1 in 5 Finns reported that they do have some struggles in their household making ends meet. So with some difficulty or great difficulty, 1 in 5 Finns. And again, in Finland, we are kind of in the middle of this comparison of 15 European countries. And again, here we see that Denmark, Sweden doing significantly better than we are here in Finland. Then moving on to the last section, which is social relations and participation. So here, in the interview, it was possible to mention up to 7 people with whom they most often discussed important things within the past year. So here we see that women have a higher amount of these social relationships on average than men. And this is in every age group. The differences are biggest here in the group under 65, where women on average have just under 4 and men just over 3 of these important social relationships. The differences are a bit smaller here in the oldest group, but still we do see a gender gap there. Then it was asked that how satisfied are the respondents with these social relations, and this was again on a score from 0 to 10. And here Finland is doing rather nicely, so we are quite happy about that. Here we see also Denmark, Austria, Sweden doing extremely well, so that's good to see. And even here, let's say the last 2 or 3 countries in our 15-country comparison, I would say that 8.5, 8.6 on a scale from 0 to 10 is also quite high, so that is generally nice to see. Then, looking at loneliness in Finland, here we see that those who feel lonely some of the time, or often, it is most common in the age group 75 plus among women. So nearly half here in this group responded that they feel loneliness some of the time or often. And the proportion is slightly smaller here in men, although here those who feel loneliness often is a bit larger than among women in the same age group. And here again we have some international comparison. And here we see that while Finland is doing rather well in this group who feels loneliness often, when you compare to other countries, Italy, Latvia, Estonia, Poland here, then when you combine the group who feel loneliness some of the time with the ones who feel loneliness often, then Finland is not doing so well. So we have the 3rd highest proportion of people experiencing loneliness some of the time more often. Then this is from our national drop-off questionnaire. And here we asked whether the respondent has felt that they have been discriminated against or been placed in an unequal position due to their age in the past year, for example, in government offices or healthcare services. And we see that around 1 in 5 in the younger age groups did feel that they had been discriminated due to their age within the past year, and the proportion was largest here in the oldest age group. So we have more than 1 in 4 responding that they had encountered age discrimination. Then looking at relationships, this is also from our drop-off questionnaire. It included statements about romantic relationships, and the respondents were asked to provide their views on these statements. And here we have the proportion of those who agreed somewhat or strongly agreed with these statements. So here we see that the majority responded that, yes, I feel that we love each other. So that is always good to see. But what we do see here is that it looks as if men are a bit more satisfied in their relationships than women. So you can see it in every question that we have here. The lowest rate of satisfaction was in the level of physical closeness in the relationship. And the biggest gender difference was here in the satisfaction of how they express matters and feelings to each other. So there was a 9 percentage point difference between men and women there. But also what we see is that the proportion of men and women who have considered divorce or separation recently is very small. Then just to do some recap, so our key findings in this report: aging Finns are satisfied with their lives. So this was good news for us. But then what was not good news was that loneliness is at a higher level here in Finland compared to other European countries. And women age 75 plus are the most lonely. And also one measure where we weren't doing very well was the proportion of those dissatisfied with the coverage of the healthcare system. And that was the third highest among the compared European countries. And then we found that just over half of working Finns 50 plus would like to retire as early as possible. And then Finns are satisfied with their social relationships, and the vast majority do feel mutual love in their romantic relationships. So to end on a positive note. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Crystal. I think we could have one question from the audience, and then we will move on to the next speaker. I'm just hoping that we would have some time in the end to discuss a little bit more. Or no, we can. Okay, please. You are the next one. Yes, yes.
And also, I think should we maybe have a kind of? Would you like to have a just take a coffee and minutes or something? I mean, after Crystal, but I would suggest if you have questions to Crystal.
Yeah, we have 20
Yes.
minutes for you. That's my schedule. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm also happy to take any questions afterwards if we're short on time here, so no problem in that.
Okay, so maybe one question now and more later. Any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Do you have an idea why the satisfaction with the healthcare system is so very low in Finland? Maybe Finns know, but I don't. So.
That's a very good question. We definitely didn't look into this question deeper in this report. It's hard to say. We have had problems with long queues, waiting for treatment. That may be one factor. And also what is a bit concerning is that since then, the data was collected in 22. We have had lots of budget cuts since then. So it could be that in the next wave, when we look at this, the situation might be even a little bit worse than what it is here.
Actually, I was interested in this question yesterday when they published these results. Yeah. So I think SHARE could be used to study this question because we are experiencing budget cuts at the moment, and the government is cutting spending in healthcare. So the expectation is that people are even more dissatisfied with healthcare in the future. That's my sort of theoretical prediction, but let's see what happens. Yeah.
Can I just say one general answer, which you may not know, just about Finland? So Finland has a special situation, I think, compared to the other European countries, that we have a dual system of healthcare. When you're employed, you typically get, what is it called in?
Occupational healthcare.
Yes, and Ismo is really the expert on this. And then when you retire, or before you are employed, you are in other healthcare, basically the municipal, public funded, where we had a huge reform, which is ongoing. So that is, at least for those who work, when you I can get the doctor's appointment in 0 time from just booking it. And then if I would go to the municipal, it really depends. Really depends. I could maybe sometimes have to wait for months. So that can also be you have experienced something else, really many. I mean, if we speak about satisfaction, I don't think the quality of Finnish healthcare is extremely low, although we have our challenges. If you see what I mean, that you know how it could be. No? But he's my really the expert on this, so.
Okay. Should we? It was suggested that we should have a short break now. Why don't we do it now? Or was there any more? Okay, let's have a short break. Coffee is out there. We will continue at 10:30. And yeah. Okay, so let's continue with the program. And we have a next speaker here in front, Anna Rotkir. Anna is a country team leader for Share Finland. She works also as a research professor and director of Population Research Institute here at Family Federation of Finland. And her title of her talk is Basing Policy Recommendations on Research, Best Practices from Finland. So please, Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ismo, and hello, everybody. I'm really pleased to see you here. And I'm sorry, it's kind of a bit hot, and I know it is. And that can make you sleepy. And I won't fall asleep because I'm talking, but if you feel like, oh, you can move, you can ask a question, kind of, yeah. I changed the title from best practices to some practices. We are quite involved in policy, both kind of indirectly and directly in research results, and I will talk a bit about that. But I really thought, like, is there anything we know that we actually changed? And beyond some formulations in some ministry papers, I'm not sure. But maybe we are getting there. So kind of, yeah. First, a few words about where you are. So Väestöliitto, the Family Federation of Finland, was founded in 1941, when, as many of you know, Finland was involved in the Second World War, and we also then had a quite dramatic war against Russia towards the end. So, and there were big concerns about population development and also falling fertility. The research institute which I am heading was founded 5 years later in 1946. And this is our kind of key building. You see one of the founding women who was a professor, one of the earliest female professors, suitably placed in the dressing room close to the sauna, Elsa Enäjärvi-Haavio, but it's a nice portrait and you can kind of have a look at her. Väestöliitto then has been involved in really many pioneering things, from bringing condoms and sexual education to Finland, to bringing infertility treatments, to bringing various kinds of support for families, kind of in addition to our research. So I guess comparing to your other teams, I'm speaking from a more special and a bit privileged position because in terms of outreach, because we are part of an NGO. We are quite a big-ish research institute now, 15 to 20 people, where the Share team has been until it will now move to Ismo. And we are part of an NGO. So that means we have facilities, things which are kind of maybe not the same in all universities. Before I go further, I must say I really liked how David started his talk with pointing out Emma. I'm happy to have the daughter here. And this is all in the Väestöliitto. We are really, really family friendly. And I'm super happy to see Mika, who is the previous Share CTO with his child. So Mika is now on paternity leave. You're really now like a poster child for everything we wish to happen. And I'm so happy you could come here. We have a president who always says you should have 3 points, but this morning I summarized my points into 4. What in policy outreach I have learned, and this is not at all systematic, is learned by the kantapää, as they say in Finland, by the back of your heel. Prioritizing your message, shaping it, formulating it, popularizing, always changing it into plain speak. Then I will say something about people and patients towards the end. But first, as a background, why I think we are also very much currently in the media and consulted by the politicians is that Finland is one of the most aged countries in the world. So together with Italy, we are the most aged Share country. And here you see the proportion of people aged 75 and 84 and 85 plus until 22, and then the predictions. And of course, these are predictions which are very, very likely to happen. So it's not kind of some imagined scenario. And we discussed this with Ismo and Antti yesterday, that we will see the proportion of people aged 85 plus almost double. It grows with 100,000 people. And already now people are not very satisfied with the care we are receiving. So this is just a ginormous challenge. Now, this development is, of course, an outcome from very, very positive trends. In many Baltic countries, you do not have this problem because you have much lower life expectancy. So I'm really not saying the older people are the problem. I'm saying providing them a dignified and good care until they die is the challenge. It's great that we have had these wonderful increases in life expectancy, and it's tied up to many of the good things that happened. Now, at the same time, we have seen during the last 15 years, or no, 14, and counting, a drastic decline in birth rates. So I am not going to that, but that's the kind of other outreach we have is very much related to fertility things, and we have kind of lost 1/3, both in total fertility rates and in actual births. And of course, any demographer will immediately say, well, how much is due to postponement? And the question is some, but not all. So this is also will mirror an actual decline in probably in cohort fertility. And of course, the smaller cohorts, the much smaller cohorts, will hit working age at exactly the same time that these the numbers of people who really will need and should have care will grow. And you could always say immigration is a solution. It is a solution in many ways. We have had quite good net migration rates for the last years, but I will not go into that discussion because at least say the government policies now are doing really wanting to kind of limit the number of immigrants, although it is very modest in Finland. But you see a kind of challenges on many fronts. And now when we go to prioritizing what we did a few years ago, and I remember then I was assigned it and I was like, oh, we don't have time to do this. And we had Tia Sorsa who did another thing and kind of really, I would say, a bit under-resourced, but we created through dialogues with a large societal dialogue and then a large joint authors and then the board of Väestöliitto, based on that whole process, created 10 population policy goals for Finland. And I'm actually really happy we did it. I don't know if you can see it back there, but I think they are good. And then many of them I was at the time like, well, yeah, okay, I put it because somebody wanted, and I was not the one kind of in charge of these, but it's because it was really a kind of crowd intelligence process. I think the population policy goals we have are actually, I mean, they are broad and I think they hold. And as you see, we here really stress in a way family relationships and social relationships. For instance, when we say that good relationships, family friendliness applies to all, it of course goes to any kinds of families, extended families, relationships to siblings. We also include often friends, talk about relationship between life and, for instance, balance between work and other life. It doesn't have to be family members specifically, but these good relationships are at the core of public health. This is a policy thing which we have been now advocating. I don't see any exact result, but one, what would I say? I think one relatively cost-effective thing which Finland can do in this situation where we are now is support social relationships and actually especially couple relationships. As you saw from Kristel's presentations, we are doing quite well on the social network. I actually didn't see it there, but I will show you. We are doing, I will show it now. Here you see from Share, we have this wonderful social network module in Share. The size of social networks here is women, age 65 plus, social network size and composition. This wonderful graph is made by Lili Abulatse, who sits there. And we chose it because this particular group, because Finland is on top there. But if you take the other ones, we're also doing well. This is for one outreach thing, because of course people in the ministries like to hear they are good on something. If you go to them and say you have zillions of challenges and you have not met them, I mean, they will just be a bit, yeah, people are people, this comes to this thing. People want to be enthusiasm and inspired and kind of, they also always want good feedback. But we have, I wonder how, I will not go into detail. We have analyzed this and we have several ongoing papers on the relationship of this to well-being. And I will show, this is from Jari Saramäki from Aalto University. We did a kind of really multidimensional network methods analysis of all the things you ask in the social network module. How many of you know what is in the shared social network module? What? Yeah, okay. David, what is it? Okay. Okay. David, you are not using it. Okay, so it's and Lily, please correct me if I say the wrong things. It's a self-generated, ego-centered social network module, which can also be called the confident network. Hugo Litvin was the one who introduced it and has studied it, and there are many great reports of this. You ask, please name the persons you have talked about important things in your life during the last 12 months. Is this right? Yes. And then they can say, oh, there's Joe. And then they ask, who is Joe? Oh, Joe is my neighbor. Okay, is there somebody else? Yes, there's Bill. Who is Bill? Well, this is not very Baltic Sea, sorry. There's Agnieszka. Who is Agnieszka? She's my good colleague at work. There's Martina. Who is Martina? She's my spouse. And then they also, and you can name up to 6 people. And then they also ask, is there somebody else? For instance, somebody who is demented, who you can't really talk about important things. Like my husband is demented, but he's really close to me. So I can mention him as a 7. Or I have a small grandchild who is really the heart of my life, a toddler, but okay. So this module is what you saw in the previous thing. And what we see here then is, then you can create, so here is network size. You see the average network size varies between, in country levels, varies between 1.5 to 3.5. So you can say 7, but really many, I mean, people don't have ginormous, close, confident networks. Here you see the spouse, the children, the parents, all parents, very few siblings and friends. And now when we analyze this more carefully, and then you also ask, how close do you live to them? How often do you see them? How emotionally close are you to them? And for instance, in this paper, which David mentioned about, which was this really interesting study on relationship quality, I couldn't find actually what they did, but I guess they took the quality, emotional quality of relationships on average and put that into the analysis. It wasn't in this summary paper. But okay, so that's what they do. And then when we did a multidimensional analysis and looked, how does this look in Europe? We found, I'm not going into the methods, we found 9 different clusters. Some are more frequent than others. And here you see the prevalence in different types. So we can look at the Baltic Sea regions. This is, for instance, I have no partner and children are living far away. Then you see, I have no partner, but my children live close. Oh, sorry, very few in Finland. I have no one. This is like no one. That is a cluster. I have, it's not very frequent, but, and you see it's quite evenly distributed in Europe. This is, I have no partner and I have a few other close people, like a few friends. This is, I have no partner, but I have many close kin and friends. This is, I have only a partner, nobody else in my network. And this is, I have a large mixed network, spouse, partner, kids, friends, maybe no, so on. This is, I have the nuclear family. And this is, I have a nuclear family, but distal nuclear. So typically the children live farther away. Now, I'm just jumping to the conclusions of this analysis we did, because after this, we're looking at the well-being effect of these different social network clusters. So first, you see very interestingly the geographical variation here, that in Finland, this no partner and few others is quite common, or mid-common, but really common in the Nordic countries is this large social networks, which we saw. Then if you look at the associations with well-being, the one thing which stands out is, what is, if you would say, one ingredient from your social network, which controlling for the other country factors, controlling for wealth and other things, which we know contribute to life satisfaction, which would you guess, and now my team cannot answer, especially not Lily and Ellie and Crystal and Iris, but which would you guess, what is from this social network composition, is there anything, the size or the type of person which you have in a network which really contributes to well-being in older age? Just guess. What would if you have spouse, own children, yeah.
Close friends.
Do we have other guesses? That was my, close friends was my guess. Partner was the other. It is the partner. And it's almost, I would say, we have a slight problem writing this up because we did this really complicated analysis, everything. Are you close? Are you distant? Are you... No. What matters is, for your well-being, controlling for all the other things. Kind of, there's no difference whether you live in Italy or in Finland or in Estonia or in Latvia. If you control for everything else, if you have a partner, you are quite fine. If you don't, you are much less fine. Okay, why I'm saying this is that I was quite sure it's either the children or the friends. I actually thought it's the friends myself. Having this result and seeing that still in Kristel's result, we saw that 6% contemplate divorce. And in Finland, there is no public support for any kind of couple relations. If you want a therapist, you have to go to the private sector, and it's extremely expensive, hard to get time so often to the good ones. So if you are a not very financially well-doing couple, you have to do there. So for instance, now we are talking about the importance of couple relations in old age policies. That you should acknowledge that they are there. Of course, there are many things you could do then to help the spouse when they're caretakers, and many of you are experts on this, but also just see their value. I thought it was super interesting when David showed this nice publication about health, and what you saw there were only individuals. Do you remember? There was this woman doing the yoga pose, there was the guy running, they were A, all young, and B, they were all individuals. You didn't see a couple. Based on our analysis from share data and much other research on loneliness and so on, what you should really, really do and put focus on from youth is, and Mika's work has been also really influential. I'm not going into them now, you can find it online. From share data, we see very clearly that the predictor of well-being also across your life course is the partnership status. So, and this is actually one thing in share, you should ask more about the relationship with the partner. We did it in the Finnish drop-off, but you don't do it in share. You ask about everything else, but you don't ask about the kind of, unless the partner is here, but still. So that's one thing I would do. Okay, what we do when we want this kind of result to go out. So I have been, first is prioritizing. We have the population policy guidelines. We have other guidelines. We try to formulate this kind of main message. Second is popularizing. We have Tina, who's here. We do kind of so-called science leaks, which are blogs, but they are in the Finnish language with really easy, accessible results. So for instance, when we had this nice thing with Lily, this descriptive social network thing, we put it out that, Finland has the highest a bit of a kind of, and that was really well received. And when we use it, people are always like, oh, this is so interesting and this is so wonderful and you can use it as a thing. You cannot simplify enough. You cannot simplify enough. Many politicians, especially in Finland, have kind of never done any quantitative statistics, like none, like cross-tabulation, too complicated. They're not going to read it. You should have a clear headline and clear policy recommendations. I'm finishing with the two last ones. People, if you want to take the message through, you have to meet people live. And you should utilize all this network access or lobby or anything. If you look at what actually lobby organizations do, they meet people live. Then you can follow up. But I mean, this, as researchers, we are somehow, oh, I sent my abstract to some email. That will never be enough. Meeting people and also listening to them and all these co-creation things we are now doing in our projects, it's really good. Involving them at different stages. But if you're talking about policy, meeting the policy people. Contacting them, meeting them, reaching out. And then the last one is patience. I have no example from this couple relations thing because we started talking about this 3 years ago. From the fertility sphere, we started talking about raising fertility awareness 15 years ago. And yesterday, I was sitting, and this guy, not the Minister of Finance, alas, but this guy from the Ministry of Finance was like, oh, fertility awareness, that sounds so nice. So I was like, 15 years. So things take time, and political change takes time. This is situation, and it can be really frustrating because population change currently does not take time. But new ideas, especially new ideas, new discourses, new concepts, new emphasis, it really takes time. So be patient. Yes, thank you.
So thank you, Anna. Any brief comments to Anna? I think we need to continue in the program then, but I think we can have one comment or question. Yes, please.
We were recently also checking the social networks, and so I'm a bit familiar with those questions. But we were also interested in checking that association. Okay, you have a partner, but if it's not a person one or person two in your social network, so is it really a partner? Does that make a difference? In that case, so when in Latvia, we have not checked in other countries, but in Latvia, I would say that in 50% of cases, it's not your first person with whom you discuss what's your important. And then it comes a question, okay, I'm having a partner, so is marital status a marital status? So maybe it still has some kind of implications also towards that. And the other thing also concerning, and I'm talking more about that healthy aging, is of course, I always have a feeling that to reach policy makers is quite easier, but how to reach older individuals in order if we would like to maintain the functional abilities or we would like to promote that healthy aging focus. So how to reach that society of ours who is aging in a digital era, which is not working, and you show this skills of IT technologies, and in Latvia we checked all those graphs that were shown. We might be in the top or in the bottom, but we have the worst. So the result, and we are quite used to that. Yeah. And other countries as well has a problem with those IT skills. So how to reach out not only to policymakers, but how to reach out to society.
Yeah. I just here talk more about policymakers. Maybe other people could say, I think one thing, so media in Finland, what should I say? We have kind of quite good, this kind of, not only women's magazines, but kind of elderly magazines, and they are very not scientific at all. And they are read. So if we are in the media, that kind of is one way. The other way is, of course, to work with organizations. And we should do this a lot more. And I think we will share now that it's better resourced. We also have an elder ombudsman in Finland, like a, kind of spokesperson for the elderly. So I fully agree. Depends on but if you kind of want, for instance, to make support for couple relations available, that's of course a policy thing. Do you have any good things on how to reach out to others then? Is this something you focus on? reach out to others than policymakers. Anybody?
Yeah, so for scientific, in my experience, if you want to have other researchers to use the data, you need to publish with the data yourself, and then they see it in a journal and see, that's there, so I can use it too. So, and talking about data never helps. They have to see the paper in a journal that they read, and then they know,
that's a
okay,
good thing.
It works. But this is what I know. But I don't know how to reach really respondents. In the sub, we usually had a brochure. Share is using this as well. Then at the socioeconomic panel study, we did one study where we followed up on the brochure 1 year later and asked them if they remember what was in it. And it was not even, it was forced choice, but they still messed it up. So most people, they get it, they look into it, and then they forget. Mm-hmm. So it's really, I don't know how to, so if we are not even able to inform our own respondents, how we can even inform people that are not in the survey. So this is really, something to discuss or to research in the future. But for researchers, at least I know you need to use the data yourself and show up with partners and show them this can be done with the data and it's published in this high prestige journal that you also read, and then they are interested in it. Yeah.
That's actually a very, very good advice. I will also say that we all basically move towards being more and more alone during our life course, as we saw. So it's also for policy people, okay, these are doing quite fine. They have mixed networks, but what happens then? And actually, Eli Tambellini from our team too will talk about the transition to widowhood and social network support in that. But I think awareness of social relations and how they impact your well-being. I think this could be said to policymakers, to scholars, and to general people too. Yeah, because they do. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's thank Anna. Then we have a comment from Antti Teittinen. Antti works as a research manager at Kela, and Kela has been funding the share data collection in Finland. And Antti will give a funder's view to this meeting. So.
Se on seuraava.
Joo, ei.
Et helätä.
Ei ole tämä. No niin.
Sieltä, näyttääkö tutulta?
Joo, kokeillaan. Okei. Selvä. All right, thank you for this opportunity to come here to give a short comment about share study and Kela. What's the cooperation or what we are doing together in a way? But first, I'd like to give some information. What is the Kela? So here is a kind of short motto that Kela clients comprise everyone covered under the Finnish social security system. And Kela's clients also include employer organizations that handle certain of the employees' Kela-related matters. All right, this is very shortly said, but in this picture, you see that Kela is with us from birth to death, and there is about 7 or even more phases of that. How Kela financing services and giving some benefits for social and health care issues in Finland. Then, if we look at some history and euros, so in this slide you can see that from the 1939, Kela has paid different kind of benefits from national pensions, and the last big reform was in 2017 when the basic income or basic testing the kind of research project of basic social assistance or basic so-called basic income that we call it in Finnish was changed to Kela's responsible. And here you can see different kind of benefits, pensions, insurance, etc. And those are million euros. For example, in 2022, Kela was paying different kind of social security payments over 80 billion euros altogether. And basically the same, if this is a kind of historical trajectory, here you can see the same kind of list of these benefits and who can have those benefits from parental allowances to retirement pensions. So it's all the life goals, and it's a kind of political question. What's are those tasks too much or too less? It's all the time in a question in Finnish political debate. Then I have a short organizational scheme here. What is Kela in organization? Kela is a kind of state organization that is under the Finnish Parliament. And then here you can see this figure must be read from bottom to top, and and here you can see that we have many kind of services and many units and so on, and this perhaps you are wondering what is meaning this Kanta services, because it's not translated here. Kanta services means that the medical medication register. How many different kind of medication is bought in Finland and so on, and it's a it's quite a very big unit in Kela's organization. But we have also the research unit. This is not very good slide because I tried to find a kind of short introduction about Kela research unit, but here is the Kela research unit produce and interprets information about Finland's social security system and its functionality. Our research supports the development of social security system as well as the benefits and operations and Kela. And if you like to look at this more closely, there is a so-called tietotarjonta. I give this internet address afterwards. All these are links and publications and so on. You can find it more closely there. But then we can go to the Kela and share. And Kela has financing the share with a small share. And in 1 year, Kela has granted research funding for scientific research outside the Kela based on shared data. And most important, I think, from the Kela view is that combining Kela registered data and shared data can provide more comprehensive information about the use of services and benefits, and also very important experiences of aging people. And I think that this combining process should be more easier than it is today. We know we Finns know all the bureaucracy about that nowadays in Finland, but it's also kind of debate nowadays. But then some figures. This data is based on the last year, 2023, and it's a number of Kela beneficiaries by benefit type and age, and this is 55 plus. And here you can see that until about 74, 75, reimbursements for medical expenses have it's the biggest number of Kela beneficiaries. And of course, after the 64 or 65, the Kela pensions are getting higher. And at the same time, of course, the sickness allowances and unemployment benefits are getting less. So this is a kind of use of beneficiaries, and but we can look at this also as in euros, and it's a bit different. Here you can see that Kela pensions are the biggest ones between 66 or 65 until the 75 or so, and of course all these payments getting less after that, because the population in that age 75 is getting. They are getting less and less all the time, but you can see that if the beneficiaries are used very well, it doesn't automatically mean that it is very costly all the time. But I think that this statistical data could be very interesting to combine with shared data, and we are working on that to get that to have it in practice in coming years. So that was very short comment. Thank you.
Any comments to Antti? I believe we have here Finnish researchers who might like to. I think you may agree with Antti's comments, but you may also disagree if you like. But yeah. Anything from the audience? Yes? Okay.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Olga from Riga Strategic University. So you mentioned that you can link share data to individual Kela records. So at least when I was thinking, if we can do it in our country, in Latvia, there would be huge problems with data protection things and all this. For questionnaires are like anonymous, and a person may say one thing about their income, and from official data we can see different things, and also the. So, how have you managed to handle these issues?
Yes, actually, we have the same problems. I would like to say, but it's a very complicated process to combine those, and of course the same problems like anonymity and so on, and so these processes are very slow, and I think that it is not good for the do the contemporary or research on these issues, but we are facing the same problems.
Thank you. Here's another question.
No, it's a comment, because in principle, theoretically, you can do everything with shared data and register leakage. First of all, you have in share a module on linkage. So you ask people whether they would like to be linked with the data. You have to indicate which registers they are giving consent to link. And before that, you need to have the approval of the ethics committee that you are allowed to do it. So this part is easy. This can be done. And afterwards also you can link. It's not a problem. The problem is how SHARE has looked at privacy issues. And that is a problem for us, at least. We can easily link, but what I can tell you, it's only for research use. You cannot have it in ministries or, for instance, in Social Insurance Board, this kind of data. So you would always need to address researchers that they do the research for you. This is the general GDPR rule. However, if it's not in the law, the other ways to have it is to have it all in the law. And now the problem comes from Germany, actually, who is very privacy knowledgeable or over knowledgeable. And for that reason, it has become very difficult to really get the data, what you can link, because there is a double, anonymization, and the country teams, in the end, in the beginning, we all have personal data. And with that, we can link whatever you want. But the problem is when you have the answers, and then you don't have any more the personal data, it's already pseudonymized to such an extent that country teams also cannot pseudonymize. And we in Nordic countries and Baltic Sea countries, I would say, are not doing the linkage via just modeling what is done in Germany, but we are doing it on personal-based linkage. And that is the main problem with linking shared data with registers until now. So maybe you should think about, and I just received another GDPR commented application, how you would relate to people from Share Central, and I think it's not useful. It's too cumbersome.
Any more? Okay. I think this is very important topic. This linking register data with share, and more countries are doing, as we heard from David, and we also have had some experiences of that just recently. Not me, but the Lena and Inna. Yes, and I think it's something that will happen in share in the future. Okay, I think it's time to wrap up this morning session. We are a little bit over time already, but I can see that people have not left yet, so I'm happy about that. And next, we're going to have the lunch break now, so we have something like 1 hour and 40 minutes for that. And Johanna knows all the restaurants that are located here. I know that there are quite many here, so you can easily find a restaurant where you could have some lunch, and then we will come back at 1. And we have 2 rooms for the afternoon session. One is here, and the other one is.
The other one is in the inner yard in the 1st floor. And we will close the doors for the 5th floor now until 1 o'clock, so you cannot come back here until 1 o'clock. But if you want to spend time here in Västöliitto, you can come to the 1st floor through the inner yard. We will have signs there. Yeah, and I sent all an email about nice lunch places nearby. So grab a friend and.
So I still want to thank all the speakers for these nice speeches, and also the audience for comments. So thank you all.